Hey guys, it's Alex, and today I want to talk to you about selling. If you're in an occupation where selling is the way you make money and that's basically based on commission, it can be a really high stressful thing to think about. Oh my gosh, I have to be really great at selling and I have to be good at it pretty quick because if I'm not going to make any money. This is one of the number one reasons, in my opinion, why people don't come out of the gate being great at selling something, because the focus, if it's always on, oh my gosh, I have to sell this or I'm not going to make my commission check, that can be incredibly stressful. What if I told you that sales isn't really as hard as you're making it out to be? Selling is no different than anything else that you are trying to do when your main objective is to try and communicate what you're wanting to persuade someone to do. And that's all selling is. Think about it. When you were a little baby, and of course you don't remember this, which is a shame, because we all got such great attention as babies when we first started to communicate. When a baby cries, they are selling you. That's just point blank period. They are getting you to do what they want you to do. And it's only a couple of things that the baby could want. It's either food or sleep or diapers, not too many things for you to pick from. So their communication starts out by just crying and hoping that you figure it out. And of course you do. Well, sales doesn't really work like that once we get older. Sales is mostly about identifying what somebody else actually needs and then presenting them with a story that's going to help them connect with your product or service. Back in the day, this was not as hard at all. Think about it. When we look at the 1950s and you look at the products available, choice was a lot more limited than it is now. If you're selling a product or service now, you have all kinds of competition, and likely that's something that's getting into your head. But it probably shouldn't get into your head, because your job as a salesperson is to actually forget about selling. It sounds counterintuitive, but it goes back to all communications basics, which is you have to turn your agenda off and turn your ears up in order to understand what the person in front of you is looking for. Once you've identified what that person is looking for, then you go about talking about your product and your service and how that fits into their narrative and their story. It does not work to sell across the board a widget to someone without figuring out anything about them. You have to, in essence, understand something about psychology and communication to be good at sales. But it's really basic stuff. And it moves mountains because of the attention flip that you can do. Let me explain. When the attention is on you speaking about your product, the other person, they turn their eardrum completely off and their agenda starts turning back on. And what they're doing is they're listening to what you're saying and they're bouncing the information you're giving them off of this already set idea of what they're looking for. If you're not regurgitating something that meets that agenda that they've just got sitting in the back of their head, unfortunately, you're probably going to have a hard time selling them. So what needs to happen is when it's your turn to talk and you're selling something, the very first thing you should be talking about is not your product. You're talking about what they're in front of you for, what they are looking for, learning about their life, paying attention to body language cues and things that show excitement when they tell you certain aspects of their life, things that are problems going on in their life, and then your product or service, when you're going and it's your turn to explain what that is and what it can do for them, you bring in this what's in it for them principle. And that's another video on here you can check out. It's called What's in It for Me. And basically what that does within sales communication is this. You listen to what the person has to say. What are their needs? What are their dislikes? What do they not want to experience with a product? And you take in all that information and then you build in a what's in it for me, meaning what's in it for them, story about how your product or service solves their problem or concern. You have to do so much more listening and connecting with people than the selling of a product. It is not necessary to read down a list of features of whatever it is you are selling, because when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're going back into the mode of just rattling things off, where this person starts to turn their eardrum off again. There's a time to talk about features. Typically, it is not in the beginning of the conversation. You want to talk about benefits first, but you can't even talk about benefits before discovering what this person that you're talking to is looking to benefit from. A lot of salespeople make a mistake, in my opinion, about they'll get one thing right. They'll understand, okay, I got to talk about benefits, but they'll just start rattling off benefits that don't necessarily have anything to do with this specific individual in front of them. They'll generalize benefits. And that's kind of a big no-no in sales these days, because look at the world around us. Selling is going on everywhere. There are numerous products that have all kinds of benefits and features. The only way you're going to stand out in your sales communication is to listen to exactly what this person, just this person with their own social security number, this person with their own name, family, and all this stuff going on, and you connect with that situation in front of you and not a generalized situation, because people are looking for experiences when they buy. They're looking to be understood, and they want to feel like you understand. If they don't feel like you understand, they might buy from you from time to time, but it's going to be very hard to get this incredibly crucial aspect of a sale to happen, which is a referral. So after you're selling something, the best thing they can do is refer you to someone else to help their friend solve a problem. And the reason people refer you is because of the experience they have with you. Now, the product is also going to be important. So as a salesperson, it's very important to represent a product or service that you actually believe in. Do not go into sales and sell something that you hate, know doesn't work, or care less about. It is a very bad way to enter a sales career, or even if you're not in the beginning of your career. I've had clients that have had so much success selling one thing, and then they move to a higher ticket item thinking, I'll make a higher commission, but they hate the product they're selling or the nuance of selling that particular product or service. So it's really good, if you want to be in sales, you have this wonderful opportunity to pick from all the stuff that's out there for sale, all the services that are available, and align yourself with something you actually care about. Because that's going to come through. Because what you have to do as a salesperson, in my opinion, is you have to understand your product so well that you don't need to think about it. And then you need to understand your client so well that you're able to create a true story of how your product or service can fulfill a need, want, desire for the person you're talking to, and make that all come together. Think about yourself and what sells you. It is incredible to me that so many salespeople still do not like cold calling, being cold called upon. They do not hard pressure. They don't like to be hard pressure sold on something, but yet they can have that bad experience and the next day go into work and use those same tactics that just frustrate and annoy people. Keep being human in mind. Put that other person first. Focus on what's in it for them. And then tailor fit your story of how your product or service can benefit this person you're talking to. It will give you a much better chance of closing a sale. It will give you a better chance of creating a relationship, and that relationship will ultimately be the thing that ends up getting you referrals. I hope you found this helpful. It's just a little quick tidbit on sales communication and kind of how to hone in your skill set and get far, far away from listing off features of what you're selling. They can ask about features if they want to know, but if you're going to get their attention, first you have to get their interest, which is what you're going to be able to do by even having the product or service and paying attention to them. But you really gain their attention when you've proved that you have listened to what they want, you respond in a manner that indicates you've listened, and your product or service can also solve this problem.